This episode of Blue Canoe is sponsored by Doggy Daycare Burton.
How good was it to be playing under Brian Clough and Peter Taylor at that time as well, Bruce?
I went to Derby because of him, you know, and I always believed that he was a bit special.
We start, of course, with the national match of the day. The First Division game, which really did turn out, apparently, to be the match of the day. That's between Derby County, third in the First Division.
Number 5, and it's the goal. Standing still, it's number 9 Hare who's got it.
Brian Clough had blown into the baseball ground and launched the greatest days in Derby's history.
My name's Aaron Lodge. Most people know me as Bodge, and this evening we're sat in the Cross Keys with one of Derby County's finest Scottish strikers, John O'Hare. How are you, John?
I'm very well.
Yeah?
Bodge.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were Bodge, but there you go.
So, one of the reasons we're so keen to get an interview with you is it's obviously the 50th anniversary from Derby County's League Championship and Texaco Cup win this year. So I wanted to sit down with you and just talk about your time as a footballer throughout, because you played for Derby County. Well, started at Sunderland.
Sunderland, yeah.
And then moved to Derby County.
Derby, yeah.
And then
Leeds United,
you were intertwined in the Brian Clough story of going to Leeds.
Yeah.
And then you went over to Nottingham Forest. Went and did 2 seasons out in Dallas as well.
Yeah.
And then finished up by coming on as a substitute in a European Cup final.
Yeah, that was just about. Probably might even be my last game at Forest. It was very nearly. I might have played a couple of games of following.
Is that the club where you retired? Was that?
Yeah, that was my limit. Yeah, apart from Belper Town and Carriage and Wagon and Oakbrook. Yeah. But Forest was when I finished. Yeah,
as a
I was gone. You know, you realise when people say like, how did you feel? Did you feel really bad when you got to the end of your career? Really? Yeah. And I get like it was a relief. Yeah. As much as anything, because you know where your legs are gone. Yeah. And like you're playing a lot in the reserves, and you're young lads, and they're running past you, and you can't really do anything about it. Exactly. Yeah. And you realise that it's about time. So I wasn't, you know, it came as a bit of a relief.
Over the course of us looking at, we'll get to a few of the points in your career that were really, really good, but some games you're playing 2 games in 2 days, or like the actual culture of how many games you used to play then is loads more than it would have been, say, in the Premier League season. It's still quite like strenuous for some players, but you sometimes you were playing 3 games a week.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah, they might call it health and safety, but it was so good then, you know. Yeah, I think over the Christmas period we play 3 games in like 5 days.
There's a couple of programs we've got here where you play a game on. Yeah, you play a game on Boxing Day and then a game on the 27th as well.
Yeah. But, that's the way it was. But I've got when we played. Most of we played midweek games, you know. It wasn't too bad actually, because after pre-season, it meant we didn't really do that much training in a way. It was just like keeping sort of.
That was ready. The training pitch a little bit.
Yeah. So you have to play 2 games a week. Yeah. And Clough just used to just keep us ticking over, really. You know, so it was quite nice in a way to get the 2 games a season thing. You know, so if you only playing 1 game, you'd like do some pretty hard training during the week, and I'd rather have a bit general training.
I bet sometimes it was a relief, like you're saying, to actually just play a game rather than have to do the training sessions.
The physical bit. Yeah. Obviously, there's so much. Things are so different in the game now. There's masseurs, there's everything, you know, science, dietitians. Well, I don't know what a dietitian have done with their lot.
I want to take you right back to the start. You were born in 1946.
Yeah.
And the holders of the FA Cup in that year, when you were born, just happened to be Derby County.
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but yeah, I know that, yeah.
So maybe there was something subliminally going off around that time.
I've never thought about that before, but yeah.
Born the same year as George Best as well, that was another one.
I played Best. When I was youth team at Sunderland, we played against them. And, so he's same age as me, and I played obviously at Manchester United, then against Northern Ireland, and I've been in his company a few times. Really, like a really quiet guy. Honestly, I really No, he was, after games, he was a pretty quiet, shy lad.
Just like,
once he got,
quiet part in the corner.
He went on the occasional bender, really,
I watched his documentary, and there's something, he's obviously talking about alcoholism, and he'd stopped drinking and then just went on an 18-day bender. Like, I know that's quite extreme, but
that's pretty extreme.
There's other things at hand apart from that 3 weeks of your life.
But I mean, I know people obviously knew him much better than me who played with him for Northern Ireland, and he was quite a shy sort of guy, really. He wasn't really in your face, but obviously had a problem with, like, when you become so famous and everywhere you go, people are sort of, it can be quite difficult, I think. I never got to that level,
Well, how good was he?
Best, he was the best. The best of my time. I couldn't think of, the only player of around that time I would say was Jimmy Greaves. I thought Jimmy Greaves was a phenomenal player. Greaves was probably a better goal, scored more goals because he was the best goal scorer of his era. Bestie probably a bit more of an all-round. So it'd be, George Best was as good as it was in my time,
Just naturally gifted. Like,
yeah.
When you see like Lionel Messi today, and he just seems to see 4 steps ahead of
he's
maybe not right today.
I mean, I know there's been, like, going back to Puskas, Di Stefano, my early days, and so I sort of teenager with Real Madrid. Like, Real Madrid was absolutely, Domingos, Marquitos, Pachin. I could tell you the whole team was.
From 1 to 11.
They beat Eintracht Frankfurt 7-3 at Hampden Park. And 61 I was there. Like, I was at the game
as a fan.
Just my brother took me. And they were like just incredible. But
were they the ones that inspired you to want to become a footballer?
No, it was just something in Scotland. He didn't do anything else. The cricket wasn't a game in Scotland. The rugby was only for other people, really. Where I grew up, it was
elitist.
When I grew up, football was everything that we did, really. So my dad had been a bit of a footballer, not really top level, but just all my mates played football, so I played football. And at 8 or 9 or 10, I was just probably better than, I was better than most, and I was the best player in the school, sort of thing, so it just goes from there.
Because you were born in a place called Renton.
Renton, world champions in 1888, regarded as. They beat West Brom and Preston North End, I think it was. There were unofficial world champions, in Renton, and there was like a few really good players, maybe 1 or 2 I might have thought were better than me. 12, 13, a guy who lived just below me, and he lived in a tenement house, and a guy called Hare. He was and he got polio when he was about 13.
Really?
And, and he was certainly as good a player as me, So just how it went,
It's completely unheard of, polio nowadays.
So it was pretty sad because he was a really good footballer, as a youngster.
And obviously when you're around them kind of players, even at a young age, like that must be quite a strange thing to
I can remember visiting them in hospital, and it was just like pretty sad. It was and when he came out, I mean, we used to play football every Sunday afternoon. When I'd be about 14, I'd be playing with 17, 18. I was like grown ups, and he still used to play Charlie Chick. He was his Chick Harriet, and but he had a bit of a limp, from his polio, but he could still play.
But could play on either wing,
which side it was. So, but that was all we did, like in the Red, was play football. Off the bus from school or whatever.
I suppose with the weather not being brilliant, I think you can always kind of play football. Like there's
I suppose that's like most places, really. You know,
there's a million.
If you live in Derby, if you live in Derby, at your primary school, then your secondary school, most of the guys play football. Yeah.
When did you get picked up from that particular part of the world and get your chance to
I played for a good school team. With a really good school teacher. He was actually a maths teacher. He had been a football player. He played for like about 8 and at that time there was only 2 divisions in Scotland, first and second, and he played for about 7 or 8 second division clubs, but he's quite a wealthy guy, so he used to buy kit for them, that maybe I've got him a game now and again, but he knew really, he's a top basketball player, but he's a real football nut. And the school team, it used to have his dinner time, coaching us. He certainly helped my career in a big way. He was a football nut, really. I was in his class for maths. My maths wasn't so good, but because all they talk about was what team he's going to pick for Saturday.
But I needed to, because the stats don't lie. One of them ones you need to start.
I know. And so he was the start of it, really. And then Dumbarton West, it's my county, which is like Derby boys. So playing in that, and there's a guy called Charlie Ferguson, who was chief scout for Sunderland, and his sister lived in Dumbarton. So I used to have a bit of contact with the school teacher people around there. So that's how it happened, really. The guy at Sunderland, centre forward before me, Nick Sharkey, went to the same school. Bobby Kerr, who was captain 73, was just up the road from me.
And how far was Dumbarton from Sunderland, like to travel to?
I don't know, let's say probably 150, 60 miles.
A couple hours drive, like.
Well, yeah, but probably 3 or 4. Yeah. You get a train to Newcastle, and then in those days you didn't drive, you got the train.
Well, yeah.
Train to Newcastle, and then a short trip to Sunderland. But there's like loads of about 4 or 5 players who actually went to the same school as me, who actually played at Sunderland. Didn't all make the grade, but
that made it kind of. It doesn't seem like such a big dream to be playing for an English division team.
No, because it wasn't really that far over the border. There was a lot of people, Scottish people there. There was always.
Who was your team that you supported growing up then?
Celtic.
Celtic.
Yeah, I'm Celtic man.
Celtic man.
Yeah. So that would have always been my ambition, really, to play for Celtic. Just once, and Jack Gilroy, who was my teacher that I was telling you about, the maths teacher at St Pat's, he said if I stay in Scotland, he could probably get me to Celtic. But at that time, you didn't go to football league clubs when you're that age, and now you got the opportunity to go to Sunderland when you're 15.
People are going younger and younger.
But now, in Scotland then they'd farm you out, you'd go, but you wouldn't have got to a senior club until you were 17 or 18.
And there would have
been
it
was a different system altogether. You could come down to England, not as you weren't called an apprentice, you were like, you did
like a trainee.
Yeah, something like that, There's no official title to what you were. You're just a young Scottish lad, that came down and tried to make it.
If you could kick ball, then you were good enough.
And there's quite a lot of Scottish lads. Yeah.
That must have been nice that it didn't feel too far away from home either.
No. In the digs, in my digs, there was a guy called George Hare who had played for Clyde, who I used to go and watch quite a bit because he came to the same village as me. A lad called Danny Curry came from the same village who played in the same team. So I used to go and watch Clyde, and he was in the digs. Like George would be like later did. Probably 27, 28 then. He'd been a PTI in the army, and the fittest guy I've ever seen. Like, he could walk down the stairs on his hands. It was amazing.
Could he walk upstairs on his hands?
Yeah, easily. And a lad from Ballymena, Northern Ireland, Norman Clark, who I still I'm in touch with today. He lives in London now. He got finished with a knee injury. A lad called Danny Hegan from Coatbridge, a Scottish lad, and a lad from Nottingham called John McAvoy, who was only there for 1 season and didn't quite make it. So,
is he any relation to the actor?
To
James McAvoy?
I don't think so. No, he was at Nottingham. I'd be from Nottingham.
Is he?
So I was obviously the youngest, but when I went down there, and George Hare should have been my role model. But Danny Hegan was from Coatbridge, and Danny was a Celtic man, so I sort of
a little bit. Of
so and he wasn't the best influence on me. You know, he wouldn't have been the best role model, but a great lad and great company. Yeah. He went on to play for Ipswich, West Brom, and Wolves. Yeah, in Northern Ireland. Although he was a Coatbridge, Scotland.
Not a bad set.
Really,
in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah, so he died like fairly young, really. You know, but it was good company.
Yeah. Live fast and.
He was a bit like that. Yeah.
So you spent a year in the Sunderland youth team. Was Brian Clough, did he become Sunderland?
Yeah, he did.
Team manager?
The first season I went, 62 I went there, so it's 62, 63. Yeah. He got injured on the Boxing Day of 62 it would be. Yeah, it would be, I think, yeah.
Was you at the ground when he got injured?
I was at the actual game. They played Bury. And he went through, it was a ball put through ball.
It's a horrific knee injury.
Keeper came out. There's no intent, it wasn't a foul or anything.
I've seen the footage of it, and it's like you're saying, there is no intent, but you know, when you see a player, especially at that time as well, that just does not get up, you know it's
bad. But I mean, these days, like surgery, like they're so much advanced now, it's all be okay now. He'd be able to come back from that now. But he never looked like he was going to recover from it. You know, he came back and I think he played 3 games, but never really got over it. So in the meantime, Sunderland just let him coach the kids and take the youth team. So that was how I sort of got to know who he was and what
you see it even at what that he does. Even though he wasn't a player, because his stats are incredible.
I think he scored 28 goals by that Boxing Day. He scored 40 goals every season.
Really?
You know, every season he scored 40 goals. And you'd have to say, that's a strange thing, like, but he wasn't the best, he wasn't the greatest player, but in the box he was a great striker of the ball, he was brave, he could head it.
Saw it.
He was really, but he was a terrific striker of the ball, and hit the target, like usually so good at hitting the target, And as far as when he finished, he went to Hartlepool, got them promoted, and then went to Derby, and not long after that, he asked, he wanted me to go to Derby.
Because you were Brian Clough's first signing for Derby County.
I was, yeah, that's right, yeah.
£20,000.
Yeah, I think it was 22, but no. I won't argue about 2,000. But I could, about probably 6 months before that, I could have gone to Bury. You probably won't remember a player called Colin Bell. He went to Manchester City.
They got a whole stand-up.
Well, Bury, I just sold him to Manchester City, and they wanted me to replace Colin Bell. And the manager was a guy called Bert Head. So when I got there, I'm like 19, and I've got no idea what I'm going to. I got the train down to Manchester, and I thought I was going down to play for the first team, because they were playing at Manchester United. So the manager had a car there to take me to Bury. What's going on? I'm 19, don't know anything. Bury want to sign me. So I've got this in my head. Right, what do I do here? I want £3,000 in cash. Right, I'd buy a nice house in 1966. So I get in, like, and Bert Head, the manager, says, like, the chairman's here, a guy called Bill Allen, he'll talk to you. So I said, like, I'd like £3,000 in cash. So then he says, oh, okay, you can have that. So I don't know what to do then, because I thought he's never going to give me that. I don't really want to.
You never start with your biggest offer, do you?
I don't really want to go to Bury. A nice little ground in the same league as Derby, but I didn't really fancy going there that much from Sunderland, and I didn't know that much about them. But they were playing Manchester City. This was the Friday or Thursday. They were playing Man City on the Saturday, and they wanted me to sign because Colin Bell had just gone. And God, he's offered me £3,000, and I could just go and buy a really nice house for that, you know. And but I didn't want to go there, so I had to eventually say, look, I'll have to talk to my dad. You know, before I sign, I'll have to, you know, I can't just do it. I'll have to. I got married when I was 19, so I mean, I was in the throes of going to get married. I got something like that. Anyway, so I turned it down. And then probably 3 or 4 months later, Clough came in, and I never got anything like the money that I got. Like, I think it might have been 22,000 or 20,000. Well, you get 5% of that taxed, So let's say 10% of 22,000, 2,200, half of that is 1,100 and then taxed. So I'll probably finish up with about 500. Yeah. And I could have had 3,000 cash from Bury.
What was there other offers on the table, or what was the appeal of taking that pay cut at that time, rather than going to Bury? Was it Clough?
It was Clough. Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Yeah. Sunderland were like generally bottom half of the first division, and he said to me like, well, we'll bypass them, we'll be going up as they're coming down, and it was just about accurate, and but the guy was just, he had so much belief and self-confidence that you couldn't refuse to be. But I was impressed with him when he took the youth team for the youth cup. When I was in the youth cup games, he used to take us for training. He was different. He trained us differently, in those days.
Ahead of his time,
exactly. In those days, we used to do laps and half laps and run, and he just did everything like doing things quickly, and react and more ball. Just everything about him.
His self-belief, just that quicker pace that makes it more entertaining, more appealing to you.
His self-belief, and it was just like incredible, And he kept it pretty simple as well. That was the other thing about it. They kept the game quite simple. He didn't complicate it,
No.
So I went for it. I came to Derby simply because of, Brian Clough. Yeah. As other people would have.
Yeah, well, and so they did from that point as well. Was Dave Mackay signed in that same transfer window?
No, Dave came the following year. Yeah, Ron McFarlane signed a few days after me, or maybe a week after me. And maybe a couple of months after that, Alan Hinton. And that was, I can almost remember the team when I first came here. Reg Matthews was being goal. John Richardson might have been right back. Mick Hopkinson left back. Yeah. Ronnie Webster was right half. Yeah. Bob Saxton was centre half. Yeah. Phil Waller left half. Gordon Hughes outside right. Ian Buxton, who was a cricketer, played that. Myself was I played up front. Ian Buxton, Kevin, and Billy Hodgson. So there's very few players survived that. The players that survived were Ron Webster, who he converted from right half to right back, Alan Durbin, and Kevin. That was the three players who.
And Alan Durbin, if you go and get tickets from Pride Park now, they have an all-time 11. And Alan Durbin's on that in that midfield.
Yeah. Well, Taffy plays good footballer. Yeah. It wasn't quickest, but really good football brain. Yeah. And as a centre forward, he's a really good player to play with. Now, if you ask Ronnie Webster, he might say, well, he was the right half player in front of him, and he wasn't really defensive. Taffy, Alan wasn't really much of a defender. They weren't much of a defender.
Well, you make allowances for players that look forward.
But for a front player, and also he used to get a fair amount of goals. From midfield. Yeah, but really clever, brainy footballer. Yeah. So that was about 3 players survived that culture when Clough. No. They just probably weren't quite at the level. Decent players. Bob Saxton, Phil Waller. Richard.
Brian Clough's looking at that.
Gordon Hughes and Billy Hodgson were getting
and the ambition that he's got, and people do have to have the chop in that situation where you're looking to build something that obviously it went on to be. These kind of decisions have to be made to build a brand. It's one of them.
Oh, he knew what he wanted. Yeah. And Peter Taylor was he was the man to go.
Thank you. Top stuff.
Peter was the man who would have gone and bring people in, look at people, and he was the recruiter. Probably one of the most important.
Yeah, they were one of the most good cop, bad cop. Weren't they?
But Peter really wasn't a manager. Or a manager. I know he was a manager at Derby at one time on his own, but I don't think that was his bad.
So I don't know if you know who my granddad is. Ken Guttridge.
Oh yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
So my granddad was assistant to Peter Taylor at Brighton.
At Brighton, yeah. He was with them early days.
And that, like you say, when they first split and Peter Taylor went down to Brighton. My granddad was his assistant there.
Peter was recruitment. And to me, one of the most important things in football, even now, is recruitment, and that's what Pete was really good at.
As soon as you've got that team of people.
Yeah, and once they're there, like Clough is the gaffer.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose if you look at Derby and Forest now with what Steve Cooper did last year, the recruitment and just the general feeling around that team. I think, like you're saying, when you can name 1 to 11, you know you've got a half decent setup there. There's when you know as a player that the 10 players around you are going to be pretty much unchanged week on week.
So that first season we probably finished about 7th bottom, second, but nothing certainly spectacular. Yeah. And at the beginning of the next season, he brought the genius in, Dave Mackay.
Yes.
Greatest player I ever played with.
What we've done, John, is there's a BT series called What I Wore, and I don't know if you'd have seen it or not. Sometimes they play it in between games and everything else. So they have like a clothes rack which has a certain player's memorable shirts and everything else. We've decided to do What I Scored about programmes of games that you played in. Yeah. And in this particular season, you made your debut. We'll start showing the camera at this particular point. So against Charlton in that first season. 3-2. You managed to get yourself on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, I got a goal, which was nice for me, yeah. I can remember it was a bit sluggish, I was a bit sluggish. I hadn't done that much pre-season or whether it was, but yeah, that was pleased to get a goal.
Had you heard much about Derby? What did you know?
We drove to Derby, my wife and I had got married, we drove to Derby. Thank God, what a dumb this is. Like Sunderland, like Siddle's Road.
It was like Bury all over again, wasn't it?
Siddle's Road was yellow. Yeah. You know, we drove into the York Hotel where we stayed, and you know, it was like Sunderland's right on the seaside, beautiful beach, you know, nice, lovely.
There's a part of Derbyshire that's the most landlocked in the country.
To get to the ground, there's all this smoke billowing everywhere from Leeds and Ewits. It was the dirtiest place I'd ever seen. You know, industrial pollution. Really, it was just like I don't really say I'd never before I ever seen Derby. I mean, I'd
seen any of the bigger cities like Glasgow and that. Had you been there or seen anything?
Glasgow,
and was that a similar kind of like?
All my school football was played in Glasgow. You know, yeah. Glasgow's like 15 miles up the road.
But I suppose when you're looking, even though you're signing for Clough and you're looking at Derby and you're thinking.
My wife's first impressions were thinking, you know,
first year of marriage and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. But then once we had a look around, like there's somebody, Clough gives all these houses, mostly up Alice Freeway, you know, whatever, around Mickle and all that. And obviously we realised there's a better bit than the actual town centre, you know. Yeah. And
as you go out towards Duffield, Belper.
Oh yeah. But I mean, it was just so industrial. Yeah. And that was I couldn't believe how industrial the place was. Yeah. And then we got to the baseball ground, went on the pitch, and there's this factory there with all this thick, you know, polluted smoke. Oh, God, how do they play football here?
This particular programme here is the League Cup second round in your first season against Hartlepool, which was the first time that Brian Clough had obviously faced the team that he'd obviously moved from. Yeah. You win 4-0 on that particular evening. Did you get on the score sheet?
Yeah, I scored 3. It's only hat-trick in my life, Aaron. At that late, it's only hat-trick I ever scored for. And the other point about it was Hartlepool, because that was good because Hartlepool was just down the road from Sunderland, so it was going to be in the North East paper.
Echo or
the Echo, the Echo of the Journal, So that was the other thing that pleased me, but that was, I mean, it was like I got two goals quite a few times. I mean, I wasn't really the most prolific goal scorer, so I've been getting a hat-trick, particularly, I know Hartlepool's a low division, but the fact that it
quite early on as well.
The North East papers was
13th of September, so you're not that far into the season.
No.
Must have been a nice feeling.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah. Particularly as I think, at least those in Sunderland might, notice it. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry you've had to miss the game to be here, mate.
They're actually my team. Sunderland are the team that I, apart from,
and I suppose the reason I was saying that is that it was so nice to see somebody that had obviously had a football career but was still very much transfixed on one team, and Sunderland being that.
Yeah, I'm not, but I sort of feel that I grew up there, and when I go there, my wife's from Durham, and I just feel so comfortable when I go to the North East. And I went, probably towards the end of the season, I went up as a guest. Jim Montgomery, who was a goalkeeper, who made them great saves in the FA Cup final against Leeds. He does the hospitality stuff, and so he invited me up, went up, and I still feel just so at home in Sunderland, like, you know, just a great, friendly people.
And it's nice to know that was right at the start of that football journey, you know, that you still go back to that. I've never been up that way. I've always wanted to go to Newcastle for a night out. Obviously, as a Sunderland fan, you might have.
Well, yeah, but Newcastle is a night out. Because, like, if you go for a night out, you go to Newcastle. You would go to Sunderland. Yeah. So
it's been a little while since them two teams have played each other.
Yeah.
Sunderland are on the up.
Yeah, sort of. They're just on the way a bit, but people,
maybe not tonight.
But Newcastle, Sunderland are actually as big as Newcastle. You get crowds are as big. You know, they're just as big.
They love football up there.
Oh yeah.
Like it is.
I went up the game I went up to last season. They played Fleetwood, and I think it was 37,000 or something like that. You know, something ridiculous. You know, for a Tuesday night game at home with Fleetwood. Yeah, crowds are phenomenal. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. It was a good place to grow up. You know, a nice seaside beach. You know, nice.
Start looking at my missus now. Talking about a weekend away.
Yeah, quite nice beaches. Yeah, and the Northumberland coast is beautiful, but the water's freezing. You know, when we used to train, first got the manager, a guy called Alan Brown, real hard guy. And we used to sometimes train on the beach, and we had to go and swim. He made us go in the sea when we finished, and it was freezing. Honestly, it was freezing. Yeah. But you had to go in.
Makes a man of you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Only 3 drowned.
So in the first season, all of these are programmes in which, from this season, you scored in Cardiff away.
Yeah, was that
5-1?
Yeah. Kevin got 3.
Kevin got 3.
Yeah.
Because in the first 2 seasons that you played, Kevin
actually
picked you.
My memory's
is. I bought these cue cards thinking to jog your memory. You know more than I do.
Yeah.
You know one of them ones.
I remember those things. Yeah, the good things.
Yeah. 5-1 against Cardiff at their place as well.
Yeah. It was.
It was at their place. Yeah. Back in the day, and
The O'Hare-Hector combination still dangerous.
Hector.
What was your relationship like with Kevin Hector, even in the early? Was there a nice competitive, I want to score more than you, or was it?
I wouldn't say that. No, really, no. I mean, Kevin's pretty quiet lad, really. I mean, I'm not the.
I had the pleasure of meeting him when he did a signing in.
I mean, Kevin's a king, and Kevin's a king, and he's still the king, really. I mean, because he was electric.
Yeah.
I didn't, honestly. Before I came to Derby, I didn't know much at all about Derby. I'd read bits about Kevin Hector, and I had this image of Kevin Hector being like about 6'1", you know, big, powerful centre forward. When I get here, like he's maybe an inch smaller than me, like light, slim, and totally a different sort of human being from I thought he would be physically. And so I was just amazed, and I mean his pace, his ability to run with the ball was phenomenal.
Consistency as well of scoring goals.
Oh yeah.
You look at throughout every season, he seemed to really bang goals in it. And that must have been nice for you to.
Well, the thing is about we were different type of players. You know, so but we were. Coffee.
How many of them did you set up for him?
Quite a few, but he would do the same for me because he would go, you know, and get in wide areas and get it across. But I think one of Clough's not gifts, but one of the things he's really good at was balance. Having really good balance in the team. People who can do that, who match with, you know, like putting people together who can play together. Yeah. I mean that's what he was really good at. That.
You need somebody that can stick in at the back, and then you need lads that will run around like headless chickens, and then you need someone that can score. You know. So it's a similar concept, I suppose.
Are you trying to say I was the headless chicken?
I'd say you would have won the ball stuck too.
I was good at some things. Yeah. I had strengths that Kevin didn't have, and obviously Kevin had strengths that I didn't. So as a two, we were really suited each other. Yeah.
Because you read any article about how you used to play football, and it's like he wasn't the most prolific goal scorer, but his first touch and his awareness of where to put the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite strong. I wasn't big, but I could hold the ball up. You know, I could hold people off. I was, you know, I always had good touch. I had good awareness what was around me. You know, I had a good awareness of where I was.
When you're in that Northumberland Sea, mate, you need to be making sure it's one of them ones.
Yeah, just as well I could swim.
in this particular season, you finished 18th.
Yeah, I do.
And
Right down the bottom. Yeah,
you started really, really well, and then there seemed to be a point where you just hardly won a game.
Yeah. It's probably when he was changing the team around. Like, I don't really know, but you know,
tinkering and everything else. Bolton away.
No idea.
Yeah. That's good because it helps us get through about 60 of them.
I mean, there's not many. I mean, it's like I probably scored my whole career around about 100, 120 goals, and I can probably remember about 5 of them. Yeah, you know,
that's what we're here to help you remember.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying about that.
I mean, it's like the one that I can remember, the one against. I can't remember any of the 3 against Hartlepool. You only remember just a game.
Of course, because it's your job at the end of the day. It's what happens. This one, Derby against Darlington in the League Cup 5th round. So
no idea.
Derby got to the semi-finals. That was at Derby. That was.
Yeah.
And this one is Derby County against Leeds United in the League Cup semi-final, which was the first season that you'd played for Derby.
Yeah.
And we managed to get to a semi-final of the League Cup.
And what was the home result?
The home result, I think we lost 1-0 in the home result, and then we went to their place and got beat 3-2 or something like that.
Yeah. So, 4, I think it was 4. Yeah, was that? Yeah.
Something along them lines.
So, which was a pretty decent effort against the Leeds, who were like probably the best team in the country at that time.
Is that where it kind of started from, this rivalry between Clough and Revie? Is there a point where you remember it?
I think really they're both from Middlesbrough.
Yes.
And I think there's always been like a jealous or a dislike, or they didn't like
when you've got them 2 people in the same city that are a slightly different character and
they
both want to be top dogs.
I don't think they ever sort of liked each other, you know, apart from. But when it got to Leeds and Derby, it got quite nasty, not liking each other, you know.
Well, Leeds were Division 1 team when Brian Clough first came to Derby.
They would have been, because they went up with Sunderland.
Okay.
I'm going back now to about 64.
Okay.
Leeds went up in about 64. They won the league. They won the league, and Sunderland came second.
They were like 3-4 seasons in front of us in terms of their progression.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe not in that, but for about 5 or 6 seasons, Leeds were the best team in Britain. You know, they didn't win what they should have won, really, you know, because if you go through the team.
Well, they didn't win the 72 championship as a league and cup double, because we ended up winning it. So we did stop them winning
but I mean, They were a top, really, really good team.
And like you're saying about balance of teams in that you could name 1 to 11 of that Leeds team, and they seemed to just intimidate teams, didn't they, around that time?
They really did, They had a little bit of violence and intimidate referees, and I think maybe that's why I think Don Revie maybe encouraged that, you know, and in fact I'm sure he did, you know, and they were quite physical, really, and
too physical in your opinion, or
no, but they spread it around a bit, you know. There was a few pretty nasty lads who didn't really mind hurting people, you know. And I mean, Jack wasn't nice. Little Billy. Billy was like a little terrier, but he wasn't particularly. He wouldn't really try to injure someone, you know, go over the top sort of thing. But they had a few players who could go over the top. Yeah.
Is that because they lacked certain footballing ability?
No. It was just
had both.
That was just give them a bit extra. That was just that just gave them that bit extra. That maybe certainly intimidated other teams. Yeah.
You win the 2nd division the next season, and you get promoted, obviously. How was that as a season to win the 2nd division? Did you feel settled in that second season?
Yeah, well, the second season, Dave Mackay and Willie Carlin came in. Dave was just a phenomenal leader, a great player, 2 feet, you know, just a great player. And Willie Carlin was also a really good player. He played it when he wanted it. He could do it. Yeah, really, really good. Both really experienced. So those 2 made a massive difference to the team. Just those 2, you know, and the experience they had. They made them. And we were, you know, I think we played at Sheffield United, and they brought Dave Mackay in for the beginning of the season, I think. And then I think we played about 5 games when Willie came. We played Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, and he played for Sheffield United that night, and he was like really good. So they went and bought him like a couple of days later.
Yeah, knew that he was a piece of the puzzle that was required.
Yeah, so those two made a really, really big. Yeah, their experience, their ability, tremendous. So just from then on, it was good. You know, it was just generally good. You know,
last 9 games of the season.
I think we were the outstanding team in the division. You know.
Yeah. Without a doubt, which brings us to Derby against Bristol City, last game of the season.
Yeah.
You win 5-0. You've already won the league.
Yeah.
This was Kevin Hector's in his top 12 ever Derby games.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Just for the.
Alan Durbin scored a hat trick.
Alan Durbin scores a hat trick.
Yeah, and I never scored.
You didn't score in that game.
No.
This is about one of the only programs we've got where you don't. To be fair.
I didn't score in that. Yeah.
How was the celebrations? I can't remember. One of them.
Can't really, no. I was only in the second division, so they weren't.
Yeah, but knowing that you was going on to play first division football and you'd done the job that was set, the task at hand, it must have been nice. We
must have had some celebrations, you know. I've not got the faintest.
There was plenty more to come, wasn't there? Really?
Yeah. But I mean, really, honestly, I've not got the faintest. Of the celebrations after we got promoted.
Yeah, 1969 season.
I mean, I can't even remember if we went to Mallorca that year.
Well, when you did go to Mallorca in the aftermath of beating Liverpool 1-0, John McGovern scoring the goal. Was that your end of season?
Yeah.
That's why
we used to go. I think we just went about 69, 70. You know, 1970 maybe the first time we went to Mallorca, and that was Callum Millar. That was like really good, enjoyable. Yeah. I mean, then by that I was playing for Scotland like 70, 71, 72. So I used to go to Mallorca, then come back and play in the home internationals. And you know, that was wasn't a good
about your Scotland debut.
Wasn't a good Scotland debut was great. We Northern Ireland in Belfast, we won 1-0 and I scored the only goal.
Faced by Clements. Watch O'Hare now. A great little goal. A simple, neat goal by John O'Hare. His very first international game.
So we got back home to Glasgow that night, flew home. I went and stayed at my sister's down there in Dumbarton, Vale of Leaving. Pub was still open. So I went down the pub. This is the Saturday night, and the pub used to shut at 10 o'clock, I think it was then. So I went to the bar just on 10, and I said, sorry, we're shut. Oh, God. So anyway, there was this lad who used to go to school with Big Mo, and he was Big Mo. So I said that I've got to get my drink now. I said they won't serve me, the bar's shut. He says, you know. Oh, I said, okay,
leave that to me.
Right. He said, yeah, okay, I'll get one, yeah. So he went up and said to the bar, and said, he's just scored the winning goal for Scotland today. You've got to serve him, you know. So that was, anyway, he did, he served us, yeah.
Is it true that you're one of the only Scots people that doesn't like whiskey?
If I'm one of them, but I'm certainly one of them, that's for sure. I've actually probably swallowed it about 4 times in my life and been sick 3 of them.
And as stats go.
Yeah. You won't remember a lad called Pat Wright who came to Derby, played the Shrewsbury right back. I went to his house New Year's Eve. So again, he insisted have a whiskey. So I'm like, okay, then I'll have to have a whiskey. So I have this whiskey. He's got this lovely big rubber plant over there in the corner, and I'm immediately sick, right all over this big plant, mate. Honestly, it's just so embarrassing. And but they kept pushing me to have a whiskey, you know.
How do people drink it?
Don't you like it neither?
I can drink a fair few different spirits.
Yeah. I mean,
whiskey's not one of them.
No.
I'm hoping that my taste buds will change at some point, but I'm getting on for nearly 30 now, and I know it's not dead old, but you'd think that if I liked it, I'd like it by now.
No.
First season in Division 1, I remember you saying at another Christmas meal, I'd asked you, What was your favourite ground to ever play at? And you said Goodison Park.
Everton still did, yeah.
So we managed to get one of them programmes in there. I think you scored against them as well in that
did I? Yeah, I can't remember that. I used to like playing at Everton.
Yeah.
Because it was like a bigger image of the baseball ground. It was very high, very, and right on top. Yeah. It was a bigger version of the baseball ground, really. For atmosphere, I thought Everton was a really good ground. Yeah.
You also told me that.
But bear in mind, in those days, Everton were bigger than Liverpool. Yeah.
I think it was one of the seasons before we won the league that Everton actually won the league as well, and like you're saying, they were bigger than Liverpool.
Everton were big, yeah.
I mean, in this particular season, I believe that you did the double over Liverpool. There was a 4-0 win at home, and then we went to Anfield and won 1-0 as well. And, and that must have been.
I wouldn't have known that, you see.
Yeah, I think you scored your first goal against Forest in this particular season as well.
I might remember that.
You finished 4th.
Yeah,
so you qualified for Europe.
Qualified for Europe, but we're banned
because
of illegal payments to the Dave Mackay.
Yeah, there seems like a similar theme, maybe even 50 years on that there was.
Well, yeah.
How gutted were you? Were you really looking forward to it in Europe?
Absolutely, really. But it was to qualify for Europe, and the first season in the first division was, really gutted about that. Everybody was,
How big a thing did it? Like, it was obviously national news and that kind of stuff, I'm assuming, and it was.
But the club in one, like they actually, you got a bonus for qualifying for Europe, and they actually did pay us the bonus. Obviously, you're going to miss out on playing in Europe and whatever you get for Europe. Appearance money or whatever, bonus money, that sort of thing.
It was a
blow, it was a big blow, yeah.
Do you think had we not been disqualified in that season, things might have been different?
Well, I think we were pretty good.
Well set.
We were a good side, we were a good side.
Because obviously the setup was completely different in that time as well. It was knockout, wasn't it, all the way through?
Yeah, I can't remember.
So, like compared to now, Champions League.
It was
a group stage.
It was just 2 leg knockouts.
Yeah.
And that was we'd have gone in the UEFA Cup. Yeah. So that was it. Yeah.
Played against some of Europe's best, like you say, and then everything else. So, luckily, you had the Watney Cup to focus on the next season.
Yeah.
Whatever the Watney Cup is.
I don't remember much about that. Yeah. I know we went abroad to Scotland and that, I think.
But we beat Man United 4-1 in the final.
Yeah, we smashed them, That was at the final,
I don't think you scored in that game.
No, I didn't.
We had to get them involved and everything else. And we've actually got a spare derby against Sheffield United. So for this evening, you get to keep the Sheffield United version.
Yeah.
I never knew. Was beating Sunderland tonight?
Hey, I didn't know we played Sheffield United in the semi-final.
Chelsea away. In that same season. One of the reasons that I think you scored at Stamford Bridge, but just looking at there's nearly 50,000 people in that particular stand, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, obviously you don't qualify for Europe.
So our second season was a bit of a disappointment, really.
So that next season you finish in 9th, and it's a bit of a rebuild system. I can imagine that there's a lot of exterior things that are happening around you playing football, and it isn't until the season afterwards that we get to the title winning season in 71 and 72 that things really start going right again for Derby County. And it was a brilliant title race, wasn't it? There was 4 teams that finished within a point of each other at the end of the season.
I know there was the 3 that I know was Liverpool, Manchester City,
and Leeds.
And Leeds, I'd forgotten about it. Were Leeds really right there?
So the story goes, doesn't it, that Derby play Liverpool. John McGovern scores the only goal in that particular game. We finish our season and go over to Mallorca. You lot go over to Mallorca. I don't think everyone went. And there were still results that you had to rely on while you were out there. And apparently Peter Taylor had
I think playing in the same night, but I'm not really sure about that. They did. They played the same night.
They played the same.
Liverpool were away at Arsenal.
Leeds needed a draw at Wolves.
Liverpool had to win at Arsenal.
Yes.
And Leeds needed a point at Wolves. They both can't go away, can they? Really? You know,
no, I mean a draw.
Logically,
yeah.
But I mean, Arsenal, Liverpool drew 0-0.
I suppose Mallorca's one of the best places to be at that particular time. Just to kind of take your mind off it and everything.
But we did. It was probably, you know, with getting connected telephone. You know, there was no mobiles. It was probably next morning before we knew that.
Well, apparently there's this story of Peter Taylor having a radio.
But it wasn't. Yeah, they didn't.
And did paparazzi start turning up at the hotel?
Yeah, that was like next day. It was probably next morning when we got to know that the actual results and we won it. Yeah, and then we had a good. It was good.
Good knees up.
Mallorca was always good anyway. You know,
regardless of whether
we didn't go there to train. You know, it was let's go there to enjoy ourselves.
I believe this is the newspaper that was the souvenir edition of you winning the league.
But we couldn't, to be honest, when we went to Mallorca, you couldn't imagine that we're going to win the league.
No.
You know, with both results having to go our way. You know.
I don't know if it was a Leeds, Man City or Arsenal that have cut off this bit because you can't actually see what the headline says. It goes, a bit unfair because Leeds and Liverpool were first to congratulate the Rams. The greatest title race of the century ended last night with champions Derby County celebrating abroad and Don Revie and Bill Shankly claiming we was robbed.
Oh, really? So who were the ones who congratulated us, did you say?
It said that it's title Robert. I don't know who was supposed to have congratulated you. Not
Don Revie wouldn't be.
No, I can't imagine he was first in the queue to say well done.
Shankly might not have been so bad, you know. Yeah.
Not at all.
But I mean, like we played them in our last game, so they had the chance to make it happen.
Yeah, and John McGovern scores that goal.
Yeah.
You beat Liverpool 1-0. And then, obviously, like, you go on holiday and you think nothing of it, don't you? You think there's not a chance that we're going to end up being champions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you obviously come back and we had to fill the stadium up, basically. You had to have, like, a separate celebration, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's like going away on a stag do and having an abroad one and then coming back and having the home one. Yeah. Well, the 50th anniversary of it, Brian Clough, Peter Taylor, when they were at their height for Derby County, and how nice was it to see the city and just talk to us a little bit about what Derby was like in that particular period of time, maybe the couple of months after, or the.
Well, it was a great summer to be. You know, I really enjoyed the summer because we got invited to play. You know, come here, come there. You know, it was.
Didn't pay for a drink anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he's here, he's there in every fucking way.
No great big, but you know, everywhere we went, you know, like it was like the whole
royalty almost.
The whole summer was just an amazing adventure holiday, you know. People wanting to go there, like you say, everywhere. I mean, we had like our own sort of dues ourselves, you know, that we'd organised. So it was just a summer where you like pre-season, next season was really difficult because you'd had a heavy summer, you know. I mean, I liked always, most of the lads liked a beer anyway. Not all of them, you know, but I was always a beer drinker. I liked to have 3 or 4 pints, you know. So that summer, you know, it was definitely like over the top, really, in a way.
And how old were you at that point? In mid-20s?
26, 25, 26, yeah, 25.
You had kids by that point as well?
60, yeah.
Was it that the family were coming to these events? And
no, just me and my wife. No, yeah. I'm trying to think, how old was it then? When did we win it? 72, so it's 26, 26, yeah. And I've been in Derby like a few years then, so I knew my way around, you know, and
knew which watering holes.
Yeah, there was, but it could go anywhere, you could go anywhere, yeah.
How did you find that?
I mean, it's not like just the town, it's like Belper, like Hina, Ilkeston. You know, like Hina was Ladina. Different place, you know, all those places you went to, you know, not so much south, but, you know, like that bit of it, like, you know, getting invited to things, and you like to go, you know.
You end up playing for Belper Town in your later years.
I did, yeah. It was
a beautiful part of the world, to be fair.
Yeah,
very picturesque.
Yeah. Ashbourne's, peaked at Ashbourne's nice. Yeah. It was a day out to Ashbourne. Yeah. I mean, and that was a big. You know, once again, I mean, I remember when they got the bus ride out to, you know, when we'd won it and all. They went up to Ashbourne and all that. Yeah, it was. I mean, great, really. I mean,
there was an open top Derby. There was an open top bus ride as well, and
obviously for Derby, it was a big thing. Derby County winning first time ever.
When you look at the size of our city compared to maybe some of the other teams that have won league championships around that time, and
I mean, they won the FA Cup in 46.
How good was it to be playing under Brian Clough and Peter Taylor at that time as well, Bruce?
Well, you got used to. I mean, they would always been used to it. It was just, you know, it was just really, from my point of view, it was just like, it was really good to see Cloughy winning that, you know.
Because of that ambition and that
kind of... because I always felt that I went to Derby because of him, you know, and I always believed that he was a bit special.
Yeah.
I really did. He was. I mean,
a spark of something.
When you look at his managerial career, it's just incredible, you know, whatever he transformed football clubs in a short time.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Derby County either. Obviously, you were part of that. Yeah.
Hartlepool, Derby, Nottingham Forest. I went to Leeds with him, and that was like,
just a recipe for disaster before.
Absolutely, it was never accepted. So I went there basically for the money. It's like, I mean, I wasn't the side at Derby, and but it's a job. Go because I'm getting better money.
And you know the manager, like you say.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I didn't realise until I got there, and then I realised like they wouldn't have him. The players didn't want him there, and
not one little bit.
And no, not at all. Yeah.
No.
So
how weird is it to be in
we went up, looked at
changing room? How weird?
I was okay because I knew all the Scottish lads, little Billy, Peter Lorimer, Eddie Gray. So when the players were absolutely fine. I've not got a bad word to say about Leeds. They're fine. It was just one of those things, like they couldn't understand Cloughy, like the way he worked. You know, he was so much more relaxed. Don Revie used to do dossiers on the opposition. You know, the goalkeeper kicks the ball with left, and the right back does it. Cloughy, like, never did anything like this. It's about what we do.
Very much more improvised.
It's about what we do. It's about what we do.
Yeah.
You know, so these Leeds players are thinking, after all these years of like looking at, you know, dossiers, like this guy comes in and his training was quite.
I can't do a Brian Clough impression, but I wish I could. He's one of them ones. He's like.
Good. Well, I ask him which way he thinks it should be done. We get down to it, and then we talk about it for 20 minutes, and then we decide I was right.
Crowds at football.
Yeah.
My first season I played for Scotland against England at Hampden, the crowd was 137. One of the biggest crowds ever in Britain. 137,000, I think it was, to be exact. Something like that.
And you're in the starting lineup?
Yeah. We drew 0-0. We should have beat them. Yeah. I had a bit of a half chance. Like, if we'd have scored, would have made me a legend in Scotland. You know, beating England 1-0. You know, but there you go. 137,000 at the game. Yeah.
Wow.
That was good. Yeah.
What's it like being in an atmosphere like that? You go on to win a European Cup, you come on as a substitute, and you're saying that it becomes normal, but is there a point where you're just looking around thinking, what is actually
Not
going
really,
on?
It's just noise.
Yeah.
It's just noise, you know.
Yeah.
You know, strangely, probably as a spectator at a ground, you get it more than as a player. My example was Sunday at Forest. The atmosphere at Forest on Sunday was incredible. The noise was like, oh,
I think they've been like that for about a season and a half.
Yeah,
I won't mention the 20 plus seasons before that, because they've not been as loud as that. But
it really was. It was amazing, because you don't really expect it that much at Forest, really, but it really was.
Yeah.
The noise was incredible.
I think they're starting to turn the tide and
well,
remember.
Obviously, they're on. Yeah.
They're on the up.
Oh, it's got to be tough, but there was a great win for them. But West Ham could have gone either way.
It was that disallowed goal 5 minutes before.
It could have gone either way.
Scored,
I think they would. Yeah, but
there's no point talking too much about
that.
All of that kind of stuff. Did you enjoy your time when you went over there though?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, like football's, you know.
It's a business.
You become pals, really, you know. And yeah, it's a job, but it's also I mean, there was Scottish like John Robertson was there, Robbo.
Was McGovern there?
John McGovern came with me, yeah, but I was never really. John and I were never that course, you know. But John Robertson, when I first went there, he said, like, can I train with you? Do you mind if you train with me? And I said to him, I said, look, Robbo, if you want to be a player, don't train with me. Because I wasn't the best trainer, you know. Anyway, for all the years I was at Forest, you know, you getting twos, me and Robbo were together. And then when the one European Cup, first one in Munich, Robbo just said to me after, he said, like, not bad for, you know, like, said, you'll never be a player, you know, if you train with me. So it's not done me any harm, has it, you know? But yeah, so honestly, like, because I'd played for Scotland, that, so Robbo, you know.
That's where you'd already become pals and everything else. And
so Robbo sort of looked up to me as a Scottish player, and he was a younger lad, really, you know.
There's probably one of my favourite photos that I've kind of seen of you is you playing for Scotland, where there's an absolute mud bath behind you, and it's just a Google photo, you know what I mean? If you search John Hare, but yeah, 137,000 at
Hampden Park,
against England.
Incredible, mate. Yeah.
Big up yourself for being part of that occasion.
That just like, if we could have beaten them, I'd have got the winning goal. That would have been.
Well, they tried that in the Euros as well.
But it never happened.
You know, one of them ones.
Yeah, it never happened. Yeah. 1962, I came to England. So 50. I don't know.
Well, getting on for 60 years. Isn't
getting
it?
on for 60.
Next year.
Been in Derby 55 years, I think. Yeah. So like, And some people think I've not even got a Scottish accent now, which really annoys me. I still think I speak with a Scottish accent.
I think you still speak with a Scottish accent.
Yeah. Also, when I came to live in England as a young lad, 16, I thought, God, it's a great place. You know, really, Sunderland was great. I loved everything about it.
I've been to Scotland twice.
They didn't have the, let's say, like the sectarian, you know, are you this or you that, you know, what school did you go to and all that, you know. People were like, just people. I don't think it's as bad now, but maybe.
I don't think it is at all.
No.
So Wales had already won the Six Nations in the earlier game, as was the 4 o'clock kickoff. And I'm sat in this little corner of Walkabout. It's absolutely packed. There must be like 3,000 people in there. And the toilets are the other side of the bar. Half time, it's 33-0 to England. So I'm thinking, I don't mind if I show my England cricket shirt off. Go down, I'm having a piss. And this Scottish guy, "Here you English bastard," all of this, And I ended up standing with them for the whole of the second half. He was like, "Hey, Freddie, Flint off here," like. Yeah, exactly. This is the funniest thing. I'll never remember. Like, forget his fucking mate. Scotland for me is just one of the most beautiful places to go up to and have a drink, man.
I've not really seen that much of it because I left when I was young.
I think this is a good point of bringing this interview to kind of a close. I feel like we talked about everything we wanted to talk about.
Any questions? See, all I would say is, who is the greatest centre half or even fullback, greatest defender you're about to play against?
Well, some people, you know, it depends on how you find them personally. Like me as a centre forward, Terry Neal, who played for Arsenal, I always found really difficult to play against. I thought he was, you know, just a really difficult guy to play against. You know, like Jack Charlton, who was England centre half. I enjoyed playing against him because he was a big lanky guy. I was like shorter.
Jack Charlton at Leeds, wasn't he?
You know, I could turn them and things like that. You know, but Dennis Smith at Stoke was another one, real like hardish guy. Tommy Smith, he was a defender, but of all the Terry Neal at Arsenal, I always found difficult because he was always like, you know, he was right up. Yeah. I like football generally. You know, like when you're in football, you've got to be prepared to up sticks and move, whatever. You know, when I was in Derby and I thought, well, actually, just at the end of my career, I could have gone to Preston. And Gordon Lee was manager of Preston at the time. But I didn't want to like be, you know, like. I was like settled here. And, you know, when you got kids, when you got children at school and all that, you know, I didn't want the upheavals of moving, and I didn't want to go into management for the same reason. I was happy to live where I'm living, and I just didn't want to, you know. And I didn't mind the fact that I'll have to go to work, you know. It didn't really bother me, you know. So. I just like living where I'm living.
You did a few things afterwards. You was landlord of a pub.
That was the first thing I did after football, was have a pub at Duffield. And if I'd have stayed in that, I'd have been an alcoholic.
John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. I thoroughly appreciate it.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you. Up the Rams.
Right, nicely company. Yeah.